The Young and the Restless Spoilers. In the tight-knit community of Genoa City, secrets have a way of surfacing, no matter how deeply buried. Claire, a young woman burdened by a past she desperately wished to keep hidden, found herself at the center of a storm she could no longer control. The scars left by her traumatic childhood were not visible to the naked eye, but they shaped every aspect of her life. Claire had been kidnapped as an infant and raised by her Aunt Jordan, a woman whose motives were shrouded in mystery and whose actions had left Claire with a legacy of shame and confusion. While Claire tried to move forward, the shadows of her past clung to her, refusing to let go. Living in a household filled with half-truths and unspoken pain, Claire's siblings, Johnny and Katie, had recently become curious about the fragmented stories surrounding Claire's early years. Johnny, with his empathetic nature, sensed the depth of Claire's suffering and approached her with genuine concern. He wanted to understand, to connect, and to help heal the wounds that still bled in silence. Katie, on the other hand, had a different approach. Her curiosity was laced with a sharp edge, driven by a need to uncover the truth, but lacking the sensitivity required to navigate such a delicate topic. She peppered Claire with questions that cut deep, often oblivious to the emotional turmoil they caused. "Claire, why won't you tell us about Aunt Jordan?" Katie asked one evening, her voice carrying a mix of innocence and impatience. Claire's eyes darkened, a shadow crossing her face. She had tried so hard to leave the past behind, to bury it where no one could find it. But Katie's incessant probing was dragging everything back into the light. "Katie, please," Claire replied, her voice tight with restraint. "It's not something I want to talk about." But Katie was relentless. "Did she really kidnap you? Was she really that bad? Why did she go to jail?" The questions felt like daggers, each one striking at a vulnerable part of Claire's soul. She clenched her fists, struggling to maintain her composure. She didn't owe anyone an explanation, especially not to those who couldn't understand the depth of her pain. Johnny stepped in, sensing the mounting tension. "Katie, maybe you should give Claire some space. It's obviously a sensitive subject." But Claire had had enough. The constant pressure, the fear of her secrets being exposed, and the shame she felt about her past were all too much to bear. She turned to Katie, her eyes blazing with a mix of anger and desperation. "Listen, Katie," she said, her voice low and trembling with intensity. "You need to stop asking about my past. You have no idea what it was like, what I went through. If you keep pushing, I swear I'll make you regret it. This is your last warning." Katie, taken aback by the severity of Claire's reaction, fell silent. For the first time, she saw the depth of Claire's pain, the raw edges of a wound that had never truly healed. Claire's outburst wasn't just about keeping secrets, it was about protecting herself from a world that had already taken too much from her. But Claire's threat didn't alleviate her fears. Instead, it intensified the feeling of isolation that had haunted her for so long. She realized that she couldn't continue to push everyone away, even if it meant facing her darkest memories. In the quiet moments that followed, Claire retreated to her room, the weight of her past pressing heavily on her chest. She sat on her bed, staring at the photo of her real parents, the ones she had been cruelly taken from. Tears streamed down her face as she remembered the years spent with Jordan, a woman who had tried to fill the void but had only deepened the chasm of her loneliness. Jordan was not Claire's mother, she was her captor, a complex figure who had blurred the lines between love and control. She had raised Claire in an environment of secrecy and fear, and when the truth had finally come to light, Jordan had been sent to prison, leaving Claire to pick up the pieces of a shattered childhood. Claire's mind raced with conflicting emotions. She felt ashamed of her past, of the stigma attached to being kidnapped and raised by a criminal. But she also felt a burning anger towards those who couldn't see past her history to the person she had become. She wasn't just a victim, she was a survivor, and she deserved to live without the constant reminders of her trauma. As the days passed, the tension in the household remained palpable. Johnny continued to offer his silent support, always there when Claire needed a comforting presence. Katie, though still curious, began to understand the depth of Claire's suffering and tried to curb her intrusive questions. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, the atmosphere was heavy with unspoken words. Claire glanced at Katie, a mixture of anger and sadness in her eyes.